Good evening, everybody. This is Steve Fletcher with the Trumpet for My People. Today is March 23rd, 2020. And I have an amazing piece of information that connects us with the very possible rapture of the church over the next 24, maximum 48 hours. This has to do with the sacrifices being canceled on February 21st. Now, everything that is happening right now with the coronavirus, COVID-19 epidemic, we have countries going on lockdown, and we have the whole world reeling in quarantines and in workplaces being closed and churches. Now, the first church that was closed down in this pandemic was this church in South Korea, which was February 21st. There was this big report that they were not respecting social distancing. They were getting together with large gatherings of people, and there were people infected within this church. And this church was shut down on February 21st, which was a Friday. And their first service, the first Sunday, was February 23rd. Okay, now, within the timeline of Daniel, there's a difference between the 1260 and the 1290 days. So there's an understanding that the sacrifices could be canceled 30 days prior to the abomination being set up. The abomination of desolation, which is the beginning of the mark of the beast, the final destruction of the temple, the mark of the beast, which we see right now, the world going on complete and total lockdown on March 22nd, March 23rd. This is the day of the movements of the Skull and Bones and the Georgia Guidestones and Obamacare, the Abomination. And so we have these events that have taken place in the past to give us understanding of what we are watching for, what we are looking for. Well, we have from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and the abomination that make it desolate set up, there shall be 1,290 days, 1,290 days. So if the sacrifice is set up, or the sacrifices are stopped 30 days prior to the abomination, then we have the difference between the 1260, the 1290 days, and we have the sacrifices stopped, which is the beginning of the churches being shut down worldwide, the first church being shut down worldwide on February 21st. February 21st, going 30 days, takes us to March 22nd, which was Friday. February 21st was Friday. But if we go to the first Sunday that the church services were canceled, on the first church, which began the shutdown of churches worldwide because of one church that needed to be shut down, then all the churches have gone to being shut down. So the sacrifice of praise was canceled from this church service being canceled on February 23rd. So between February 21st 30 days brings us to March 22nd. And from February 23rd, 30 days brings us to March 24th. Okay, so we have an event that took place, a 30-day interval, explaining the difference between the 1260, the 1290 days in the book of Daniel, mid-tribulation event before the wrath of God is being poured out. The final portion of the Great Tribulation, with the wrath of God being poured out. So this, I believe, is pointing to an amazing sign that we have arrived March 23rd, March 24th, and if it goes into March 24th, then this would be the perfect definition of Daniel's vision of the glorious man that he saw on the 24th day of the first month, because we know March was originally the first month. So the 24th day of the first month. So between March 22nd, March 23rd, and March 24th, we have this window of 30 days from the first church being shut down because of the COVID-19 crisis. Now, if we go back to the beginning of the Revelation 12 sign. Now, I'm taking you back to November 16th, 2016. This was the beginning of the Revelation 12 sign. This was not the alignment on September 23rd, 2017, because that alignment happened at the end of a 10-month process of Jupiter being in the womb of Virgo, which began with a conception comet as a confirmation as Jupiter was entering Virgo on November 16th and 17th, 2016. This was 1,335 days after the Abomination event that took place, Barack Obama in Israel, and the Unbreakable Alliance. So we have a marker of the tribulation, the beginning of the Revelation 12 sign, November 17th, 2016. Now, April 29th, 2020, look at this. There is an asteroid coming to Earth. I'm not going to go through the articles and try to prove that this is going to hit Earth or whatnot, but there's a very serious asteroid. Some are saying that the April 29th asteroid will be the end of the world. Okay? So investigate this. You can look up this information for yourself. I just want to bring to your attention that April 29th, 2020, there is an asteroid coming towards Earth, and there's a very great possibility that this will be an impact event. Now, from the beginning of the Revelation 12 sign, on November 17th, 2016, look at this, to April 29th, 2020 is 1,260 days. This is an amazing timeline of the tribulation period. And this then brings us 30 days later on the 1290th day from the Revelation 12 sign to Pentecost. From the beginning of the Revelation 12 sign, 1290 days brings us to Pentecost. Now, Pentecost, the prophecy in Daniel is 70 weeks are determined. Okay? So the end of the 70th year from their first government in 1949, 70 Pentecosts. If the first Pentecost was 1949, the 71st Pentecost is 2020, and the Feast of Weeks then would be the end of the 70 years and 1,290 days from the beginning of the Revelation 12 sign. Okay? Now, Revelation 18:21 says that a strong angel took up a stone like a great millstone, threw it into the sea, and saying, "So will Babylon, the great city, be thrown down with violence and will not be found any longer." So we have on April 29th, what I believe connected with the important timeline of Barack Obama, the Revelation 12 sign, all that, how that is all connected. And then we have a 1,260-day interval bringing us exactly to April 29th and the great millstone being thrown down. And that will kick off the final 30 days of the Great Tribulation leading up to the second coming of Christ on the Feast of Weeks in 2020 on May 28th and May 29th. Now, I want to remind everybody that the second coming of Christ is not at the very, very end of the tribulation. The tribulation is not over yet, because it is after the second coming that it will be the battle of Armageddon. So we have a marker of the millstone, we have a marker of the second coming, and that kicks off the final portion of the Great Tribulation, and we don't know exactly how long that will be. At this point, I don't have anything else to add to what I'm sharing right now about timelines. But if the Lord comes back with his saints on Pentecost, and that is the beginning of the final battle of Armageddon, then we can see that later this fall then will be the fulfillments. I don't think it would go out another year. It would be a short period of time in the Battle of Armageddon, and God will do away with his enemies, and then the beginning of the millennium over the next months. Okay, this fall, Feast of Trumpets, Feast of Tabernacles, where will all of those finally be fulfilled? So we see in Revelation 19, I saw heaven open, behold a white horse. He that sat upon him was faithful and true, and in righteousness he doth judge and make war. His eyes were as a flame of fire. On his head were many crowns. He had a name written that no man knew but he himself. He was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of God. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. And this is where the Lord returns with his saints. Okay, the Lord returns with his saints. As I said, this is not the complete end of the Great Tribulation yet, because there's still going to be a battle. The war continues. Okay, but I believe that there are these markers within the Revelation 12 sign, 1,260 days to the great millstone, 1,290 days to the second coming of Christ on the Feast of Pentecost, which is the fulfillment of Daniel's 70th week, the 70 weeks, the Feast of Weeks. Okay, and then that will kick off the final portion of the Great Tribulation, but Jesus will have returned, and he will be bringing, he will be gathering again his people for the final battle. And then the end of the Great Tribulation, the end of the wrath, and the beginning of the millennium will be brought in. Okay, and so this is a timeline that leads us to the understanding of a Great Tribulation period of around 65, 66 days. It has to do with the birthing process of the Antichrist. As I mentioned, 14 days from Purim to March 22nd, March 23rd, March 24th. We're in this period of time. It's connected by 30 days from the sacrifices being canceled on February 21st. And then we have from the beginning of the Revelation 12 sign, 1260 days to the Great Millstone on April 29th, and 1290 days to the Feast of Weeks. And the end of the Great Tribulation after the second coming of Christ and after the end of Armageddon. Remember that after the second coming of Christ, the battle continues. There will be a battle. We do not know how long that will be. We're given the 1260 and the 1290 days. Maybe it's another 45 days. Blessed is he who waits. But I don't know if that would fulfill a feast day for the day 1335. I do not know. So I just wanted to share this with you, and I think that the churches being shut down on February 21st is a major marker for us, a 30-day warning to the abomination of desolation being set up, and the beginning of the Great Tribulation on March 22nd, March 23rd, or March 24th, 2020. I pray you're blessed. This is Steve Fletcher with the trumpet for my people, the sign of his coming revealed.